Give me an N, give me an O. No! Hello and welcome to the third video of the three-part series that I have recorded on setting boundaries. And I've decided to dedicate this whole video on what I call the protagonist of setting boundaries. And it's the little but yet so important and significant word of no. I don't even know what way you'll see it around. So if it's on, I'm very sorry. I didn't think of you maybe seeing it the other way around. But yes, we are going to talk about no. And there is this beautiful song of Elton John called Sorry Seems to Be the Hardest Word. And I must say that I disagree. For me, it's no. No seems to be the hardest word as an HSP. And I've talked to so many HSPs that actually have confirmed it, that for us HSPs, the word no, setting boundaries and then going as far as saying no to someone's request is one of the hardest things for us. Now, why is this? I do believe that it is because we are naturally, as HSPs, and empaths, we tend to want to please other people and to make their wish come true, to make whatever they want happen. And I think that we would love to see a world, most of us would love to see a world where everybody is sitting there and has their needs fulfilled. I always have this picture where I think, wow, the ideal meal would be sitting around a round table, and while I'm putting food on the person next to me, the person next to me is putting food on my plate, and then everybody is cared for and happy. And I think as HSPs we have this carer in us. It's often also called the pleaser, because I think with all those years of being called out for our sensitivity, we may have even gone so far as to take it so far as to please people beyond our capacities. Now, what do I mean? Maybe giving people time when we needed that time for ourselves, or even giving people resources that we may have needed, other resources. Or even, I don't know about you, but how many times have I had the feeling of I feel burned out. I feel like I would need a shoulder to cry on, but here I am, and I am actually listening and being that shoulder, right? And I think it's a mixture of what our nature is. So our nature is to nurture, to care, to give, and to want to do that. But there is also the part of the pleaser that has learned to maybe get the love from others, since we've been criticized so often for our nature of being highly sensitive. You're always crying, you're too sensitive, just toughen up. And to be like, okay, that's where I can show or I can give, and then be seen or be loved. So I think there's a mixture, but yes, it often happens to HSPs that we will give beyond our capacities, and then may find it's not uncommon for highly sensitive people to find themselves in a situation of burnout because of having given beyond their capacity, be it at work, be it in family, be it with friends, and so on. And so in this video, I am here to encourage you that it is possible for us to learn no. It's still something that I'm learning, and as I'm recording this video, if I think of saying no, or the times that I have said no, or the times that I'm thinking of saying no, I already feel this, this funny feeling in my stomach. And so this is going to be a bit of an explanation and also some tips from my own experience of of saying no. Remember in the last video when I said, so the first video was about knowing yourself, knowing who you are and who your needs are, your value, what your needs and your values and limits are. And then in the second video, starting to live in that truth, starting to live out your personality, and all that you are finding out about yourself, starting to live according to your needs and your values. In that part already, when we start living that out, we will notice that some dynamics change, dynamics with people change. And what happens is that depending on how long we've been saying yes to everybody's request, for some people, that no will just be really hard to swallow. Now, you will have people that when you start living in your truth, they will start backing away because they can't get what they used to get from you anymore. And I think that learning to set boundaries, learning to live in our truth, and then also saying no to some requests is actually where there's going to be a separation. And it's maybe something that we're afraid of. But then just think about this. If you set a boundary with someone, or if you say no to their request because you just cannot, you don't have the resources, you need to rest, or you have other commitments, or you just want that time for yourself, you need that space for yourself, and they come and show you an ugly face, that of anger, always remember that that face was just waiting to show up in another moment. So actually, it's something to be thankful for. So I know that as HSPs, we love harmony, and I think that another reason for not for having this problem of saying no is because we don't want to disappoint people and then deal with their disappointed reaction. But remember this: if the reaction is one that is aggressive, or one where the person is just comes at you with this entitlement of, but I am entitled to your help and to your time. And just remember, it's an ugly moment. It may make you feel really unwell. It still makes me feel unwell. I don't like people to be angry at me. But whenever they are, I now have this thing where I think, well, I'm glad I saw that face of them. Wow. Imagine that was just waiting to show up in another time. That's one thing. The other thing is that one of the things that, or one of the sentences that sticks in my mind and that a friend told me some time ago is that, remember that saying yes to everyone is actually saying no to yourself. It's not always possible to make this beautiful thing happen that I just described, where you're putting food on someone's plate and next person's is putting food on your plate. Sometimes it may be that you're putting on everybody's plate and yours is empty. So you're not giving from the overflowing cup. You're actually barely getting by and scraping with your resources, with your strength, and saying yes to another request, saying yes to everybody's request leaves you how do you say it? It's a lack of self-care. It's a lack of self-love. You are taking from what you actually need. You're not taking from what you have in overflow, the energy or the time, which means that, remember, the next time, if I say yes to this favor, will I be saying no to myself and to something that I need, to time that I need, to rest that I need, to just another setting that I need? Then it is worth to stick out this moment and say no. And whatever the reaction is. And I think that with time and with learning to set those boundaries, you will find that, oh wow, this person isn't in my life anymore, but this is, and it's such a healthy and beautiful relationship. Saying no is also the good thing of just separating us and getting us out of those relationships that were never healthy anyway, and that were never in balance, that where there was always an imbalance. That is one thing that I would definitely urge you to remember, that to also observe how your relationships change. And there'll be people who like, wow, you've changed, but I actually like this change, and that will survive the change. And then there'll also be new people that are drawn to this person that is clearly able to set boundaries. Always remember, there are people that that will actually be attracted to this version of yours that knows what's good for them and that knows how to say no. And then another thing I'll leave you with is that when it comes to saying no, first of all, when it comes to deciding, there's no need to decide in the moment. So what I've actually started doing is telling people, can I call you back? Can I write to you? And if they say, no, actually, I need an answer no now, then I might just say no. Because here's what, someone is approaching you with a plan or with a favor, but they've been thinking about this for a long time. They've had their time of thinking. So why shouldn't you, as the person asked for the favor, take that time and say, hey, I'll call you back, or I'll write to you. And I've also taken to maybe just talking to a friend about it and saying, hey, I feel like this about it. What do you think? And I'm thinking of actually saying no, and just getting the help and support that you need. This life is not meant to be lived alone, and learning how to set boundaries is not meant to be done alone. Get the help that you need. That friend, a therapist, a coach, whoever you're working with, involve them in this process and say, I'm learning this and I need help. It's tough for me. I'm highly sensitive. I've always had this thing of pleasing, and I'm learning, and I'm just, as I said in the other video, you're growing into that shoe. Just get that help. And I actually have friends that I can call and say, hey, I need you to listen to me while I go through this conversation that I'm going to have, and the possible reactions, or writing an email and sending it to someone and say, hey, what do you think? Is it clear that I'm actually saying no? Because my no's used to be yo's, so yes and no, somewhere in between. And just getting a clear no, but still doing it in a way where I feel that I've been polite and that I've valued the other person, and that I'm actually like also saying thank you for thinking of me, but, and so on. And then the last thing I'd leave you with is that we don't have to reinvent the wheel when it comes to saying no. I'm sure you have people in your life, a handful of people that you admire for their way of setting boundaries and saying no in an elegant but clear way. In my case, it's my mom. I want to have her. I have her as a mentor for many other things, but one of the things that I really want to observe more is how she does it, that she's able to communicate a no and do it in a clear and elegant way and sweet way, where actually sometimes it's like, the person is probably going to hug her and say, oh yeah, no problem. So instead of saying, how do I do this? Just as I told you in other videos, thinking of a handful of the people in your life and the environments and so on, and how they make you feel. Come up with people that you have and that you admire for this, for being able to say no and setting boundaries and to sticking to this. Now, I hope that you've enjoyed this three-part series, just as I've enjoyed recording it. And just know that I'm here and I'm your cheerleader on setting boundaries and saying no.